Part 171. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 1701. Chapter 1701 Mo Xianyuan. After bringing Nangongyu back to City S overnight, they had to wait for her to get better. After confirming that there was nothing wrong with Nangongyu, Beijiyu felt much more relaxed, but she always felt a little strange. What is the blame? Oh, she knew. It's just that there is an extra Hanqi in this room. They rarely met Hanqi. Beijiyu got most of her impressions of Hanqi from Mo Xianyuan. Brother Hanqi, aren't you performing there? Come back to City S directly with us. Is everything okay? Well, I'll have a day off tomorrow. Oh, today's matter is really thanks to Brother Hanqi's help. That's right, Sister Yu, just be fine. They are all relatives and they should help each other. Beijiyu felt that it was a coincidence and lucky, and she was relieved when she thought about it. Fortunately, I have you. Hanqi suddenly thought of a question. How do you know where I am? Beijiyu explained, it was Sister Nuanuan who said it. She mentioned to me the day before yesterday that you would perform there, so when Sister Yu called me, I was the first to think of it. Fortunately, you really. It turned out to be her. Hanqi seemed to be lost in thought. Beijiyu had nothing else to talk about with him, so she had to say goodbye politely. Brother Hanqi, please go to bed early. I'll watch over here. You were tired from driving just now. Hanqi stared at her and said, little girl, you'd better go and accompany your brother Qingfeng. Beijiyu, whose thoughts were read, smiled shyly, hee, I'll run away first. Beijiyu picked up her skirt and ran away. What she didn't know was that the person who rescued people that night and drove them for 2 hours back to City S was actually so energetic that he even went out in the middle of the night. Hanqi didn't know what happened to him. After taking the key and leaving Ye Qingfeng's apartment, he drove out. When he woke up, he was already outside Ye's house. The mobile phone light illuminates the whole face. His fingers seemed to be out of control as he dialed Mo Xianyuan's number. He wanted to hang up as soon as he got through, but the other party actually got through. Hanqi. There was silence on the phone for about half a minute before Hanqi called out a long-lost call, Mo Xianyuan. His voice was a little hoarse. Mo Xianyuan, who was staying up late to make lesson plans during the holiday, rubbed his eyes and left the computer. She had been staring at the computer for several hours, and her eyes felt a little sore. So she opened the window and looked up at the dark sky. Although you can't see anything from this point, it's good to relax your eyes. Hanqi, what's the matter with your phone call? I'm okay. That's it? Neither of them had anything to say, but neither seemed willing to hang up. It's hard to believe that for the next 5 minutes, neither of them deliberately said anything. A gust of wind blew, and the night wind almost blinded Mo Xianyuan's eyes. Her throat was itchy and she coughed inadvertently. Hanqi heard the coughing sound coming from the mobile phone and immediately asked with concern, do you have a cold? No, it's just that my throat is a little itchy. It's okay. She shook her head while holding the phone to explain. After a while, she realized that she and the person were not talking face to face, and no one could see her shaking her head. Aren't you performing in China? Are you still not resting so late? Hanqi grasped the key point of her words and asked the question instead, how do you know where I am performing? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 1702. Chapter 1702, that's not the case. Don't get me wrong. Hanqi's sudden question confused Mo Xianyuan. How does she know where Hanqi is performing? Of course it's because she's always paying attention. But it would be embarrassing to say it in front of that person, so she gave a reasonable explanation. It's because mommy was browsing your Weibo before and saw the updates you posted on Weibo. That's it? When Han Chi heard Mo Xiongnuan's explanation, he felt as if a ladle of cold water had been poured on his heart. Mo Xiongnuan didn't know what Han Chi was thinking, so he just asked again, "It's so late, you should go to bed early." Han Chi's heart sank again, and his grip on the phone tightened. "Don't you want to talk to me?" Han Chi knew that Mo Xiongnuan had a docile temperament, and would never directly hang up the phone even if he didn't want to, so that's why he told him to take a rest so tactfully, right? Mo Xiongnuan was afraid that he was getting into trouble, so he quickly explained, "That's not the case. Don't get me wrong. Mo Xiongnuan, please talk to me." The cool evening breeze blew by, and her voice seemed to be carried by the wind, fell into his ears, and became one word, "Okay." He said he wanted Mo Xiongnuan to talk to him, but as soon as he opened his mouth, the question circled back to Mo Xiongnuan. "Why have you not gone to sleep? Making a lesson plan. Is it very hard?" Mo Xiongnuan touched his ears and smiled, "It's okay. It's definitely not as hard as yours." They are both people who love music and have talents beyond ordinary people in this regard. Han Chi chose to follow in his father's footsteps and become an excellent guitarist, and may even become a world-renowned musician. As for Mo Xiongnuan, she chose to stay in a warm home, be willing to be ordinary, and be a teacher who serves people's names. The two of them have chosen very different lives. One is on a high stage and attracts all the attention, while the other hides his glory and settles in peace. So they only saw differences. Think about it, since that incident, it seems that they haven't spoken quietly like this for a long time, even through mobile phones. The call ended in silence again. Just when Mo Xiongnuan thought he and Han Chi were going to be silent for another 5 minutes, Han Chi's voice came from the phone again. He said in a hoarse voice, "Mo Xiongnuan, please sing a song for me." The voice was very low, but not deep, as if she was suppressing the feeling of crying, which made her feel a little worried. She didn't know what happened to Han Chi, let alone why he called her at this time. The sudden call must have happened. "Han Chi, has something happened to you?" She did not respond to his singing, but instead thought of caring. Han Chi deliberately laughed twice at the phone. "What can I do?" The night wind blew in his face again. When Mo Xiongnuan reached out to close the window, he suddenly noticed that the tail light of a car downstairs flashed. How can there be a car in that place? She is very familiar with the situation in her own family. Thinking of this phone call, Mo Xiongnuan suddenly made a bold guess in his mind. She hesitated for a moment, then asked on the phone, "Are you downstairs in my house?" The voice of this sentence was a little trembling, because even she herself was not sure. Finally, Han Chi admitted. "Wait." Mo Xiongnuan immediately turned around and left the room, running downstairs. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1703. Chapter 1703 Relationship between ex-girlfriend and boyfriend. Han Chi held the mobile phone and seemed to be frozen. It is not difficult to guess that the girl has noticed him and is very likely walking towards him. Han Chi. Hear his voice before he sees him. The sound broke through the darkness, and she walked towards the dim light. Han Chi leaned against the car, his eyes filled with her voice and smile. "It's really you." Mo Xiongnuan's tone was a bit unbelievable. Originally, he shouldn't have appeared in this place at this time. The two of them were relatively speechless. Ahem, another gust of night wind blew by, and she subconsciously crossed her arms. Seeing this, Han Chi took off his coat without saying a word and went straight to her side to put it on her. No need. Mo Xiongnuan wanted to push away. Han Chi, however, pressed her shoulders with greater force on purpose and couldn't help but retort, Get dressed. Oh, but you. No but, I'm not cold. Why did you come to S City? I met Sister Yu and came back with her, Han Chi explained while avoiding important matters. Mo Xiongnuan lowered his head slightly, pushed a strand of hair that had been blown by the wind against his cheek behind his ear, and said oh in a low voice. After a long time, the two of them still asked an ancient greeting, how are you lately? Mo Xiongnuan nodded, well, it's good. What about you? Han Chi, I'm pretty good too. After being silent for a while, Han Chi asked again, do you have a boyfriend? Mo Xiongnuan hesitated for a while and said softly, I haven't found the right one yet. Actually, she is already looking forward to sweet love. Why is a 29-year-old woman not considering marriage yet? Maybe it's because there's someone living in my heart for a long time, but we just couldn't be together. What about you, how are you and your girlfriend? My girlfriend, isn't she already an ex-girlfriend? That's it? Mo Xiongnuan couldn't continue. Actually, Mo Xiongnuan had no experience in love at all, but the only time her relationship fell apart was with her ex-boyfriend. Speaking of which, Han Chi is her ex-boyfriend. She should only be considered Han Chi's ex-girlfriend, or there may be exes she doesn't know about. As an older leftover girl, she actually met and chatted with her ex-boyfriend in front of her house in the middle of the night. This scene was strange no matter how you thought about it. Mo Xiongnuan, what do you think I'd like to knock on your door now? Mom and Daddy are not at home and won't come back until tomorrow, so it won't be a big deal. I've come all the way to City S and I don't have a place to live. Why don't you consider taking me in for a night? Mo Xiongnuan thought about it seriously and said, it's not impossible. Han Chi smiled, then just lead the way. Oh. Just like that, Mo Xiongnuan brought a man home in a daze, even though this man was familiar to everyone. The guest rooms on this floor are all clean, you can choose any one. I like the room I lived in before. The guest room he lived in before was the closest to Mo Xiongnuan's room. But making this request now puts Mo Xiongnuan in a dilemma. Mo Xiongnuan scratched his hair and said, that room has been transformed into a study. She said it was a study room, but she actually cleared out the room next door and installed many bookshelves filled with various books about music. It was equivalent to a storage room for her music materials. It was easy to search only if it was close to the room. If you don't like the guest rooms on this floor, there are rooms upstairs and they are cleaned regularly. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Hixie. Chapter 1704. Chapter 1704. If you get married, you must be a good wife and mother. Mo Xiongnuan pointed to the guest room and asked him to choose. Han Chi had no choice but to choose the one closest to her from the facade of the available guest rooms. Mo Xiongnuan, if you get married, you will definitely be what others call a good wife and mother. Han Chi suddenly said this because everything went well after Mo Xiongnuan brought him in. He helped him choose a room and prepared some water for him. In short, everything was taken care of. Mo Xiongnuan hugged her slightly and said, don't make fun of me. As a host, you should entertain guests. Guest, Han Chi seemed to be slightly displeased when he heard this adjective, but quickly put it away. He smiled and said, my godmother asked me to treat this place as my own home, but you treat me like an outsider. When Mo Xiongnuan heard this, he thought, that's not right. Why did this person misinterpret her words? Hurriedly explained, no, I didn't mean that. Don't get me wrong. Then what do you mean? Oops, I can't explain it clearly, as long as you understand. I don't understand. Han Chi, you bullied me on purpose. Han Chi asked her questions knowingly, causing her a headache. Han Chi was so amused that he even got more serious. How can you do that? Isn't it the right thing to take care of your younger brother? Sister Nuanuan. You. Han Chi suddenly called her sister, which was so startling. You must know that since they met when they were children, Han Chi ignored her age and insisted on calling her Mo Xianyuan, and often tricked her into calling him brother instead. At this time, calling Sister Nuanuan feels weird no matter how you hear it. And he sounded a little worried, as if their relationship was fixed. I'm only 1 year older than you. Yes, and Sister Nuanuan doesn't have the aura to be an older sister at all, she is just a younger sister. What on earth do you want to say? I know I am very old. She felt a little depressed and unhappy. When she was teaching at the university, she was always mistaken for a college student. Why did Han Chi say that she was very old? No woman likes to hear other people say old things about herself, it's really heartbreaking. Han Chi stopped teasing her as soon as it was good, and stopped teasing her. Okay, Mo Xianyuan, I'm teasing you, you will always be 18 years old in my heart. His coaxing words come out of his mouth, but now he can no longer coax her. Forget it, you should go to bed early. Mo Xianyuan sighed softly, opened the door and walked out. Han Chi was lying on the big bed, unable to sleep at night. That night, both of them tossed and turned in bed, worried. The next morning, Han Chi deliberately got up early because he was afraid that Mo Xianyuan would leave early for class. His sudden appearance frightened the servants in the villa, who almost thought the villa had been robbed. Still such a handsome thief. Fortunately, an old man working here knew him, and his identity was confirmed. Han Chi waited and waited. It was already 8 o'clock and he still didn't see Mo Xianyuan. The housekeeper then explained to him, Miss Third has no class this morning, so she may get up late. In the past, Mo Xianyuan usually woke up at 8 o'clock even if there were no classes, but occasionally he would be late when he had to rush to make lesson plans. So he ate his breakfast and continued to wait. At 9 o'clock, Mo Xianyuan came downstairs with a yawn. She vaguely saw someone in the living room, and asked casually as before, what are you eating this morning? Han Chi raised his head when he heard the sound, if you go back to sleep, you can just have lunch. Because of this woman, he stayed up all night, but she slept so soundly. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1705. Chapter 1705, Pick You Up. Mo Xianyuan, who was not yet fully awake, heard Han Chi's voice and almost missed the stairs. Why are you here? I asked weakly before reacting. Han Chi's face gradually darkened. How could he imagine that this woman had forgotten everything after a long sleep? Mo Xianyuan, you are going too far. We chatted for so long last night. Have a good chat, it doesn't really count, it's obviously just an awkward chat. It is indeed best to stay alone at night, so as not to get too emotional and provoke your ex-boyfriend. Mo Xianyuan reached the last step of the stairs and was just the same height as Han Chi. Han Chi, look, I'm as tall as you. Han Chi smiled without saying a word and stretched out his hand to hug her down. At this very moment. Nuan Nuan baby, mommy is back. At this very moment. Yayoi walked in happily, and the scene froze. The scene that fell into Yayui's eyes was that of Han Chi and his precious daughter Mo Xianyuan embracing each other. Am I hallucinating? Yayui began to doubt himself and rubbed his eyes before looking again. Yezukan, who was approaching, didn't have that kind of cuteness, and directly told them to let go in a stern voice. Mo Xianyuan hurriedly pushed Han Chi away, and Han Chi also let go. The two separated, and Mo Xianyuan immediately ran to Yayui, trying to get through. Mommy, what did you buy? Don't interrupt, tell me what's going on between you two. The night is very confusing. How come there is an extra man in the house when I come back from a day out? Even though she knew this man as her godson whom she liked very much, the scene of him hugging his daughter was too ambiguous. Obviously these two have become ex-girlfriends. However, Ye Wei then thought about it. His youngest daughter was already 29 years old and had never been in love. She must have inherited the family's excellent genes and loved one person for her whole life. To put it simply, Mo Xiangnuen still has lingering feelings for Han Qi. They all know what happened when the two children got together, and they also know what happened when they broke up. No one was right or wrong, no one was sorry to anyone, it was just not enough fate that prevented them from getting together. Now after so much time, we still meet. As people who have been together, Yezi will not hinder their emotional development, but all the relationships combined, seeing the scene at home, always feels weird. It wasn't until Yezikin stood beside her that she came back to her senses. Hello godfather, godmother. Han Qi obediently greeted his elders. When Ye Wei saw Han Qi, he smiled brightly and said, "Qi, you're here." Even though there was no smile on Yezikin's face, she still gave him a slight nod. Yezikin is not a very strict father, because although he dotes on his daughter, he does not interfere too much. Just like falling in love, Kitano would definitely be furious if he saw that scene, but Yezikin would not. He only needs to protect his daughter when she needs him. As for the rest, whether he is happy or painful, he is willing to let the children try and experience it on their own. How was Chi'er's recent concert? Well enough. As you said on Weibo, are you ready to record a new song? It's all official advertising, but I haven't even written the lyrics yet. She said she was planning to record a new song, but she didn't tell everyone the specific time, so she just kept her appetite in check. Chi'er, it's rare for you to come here once. How many days can you stay this time? End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lukixi. Chapter 1706. Chapter 1706. Yaziun is their obsession. Chi'er, it's rare for you to come here once. How many days can you stay this time? When Han Qi was about to answer, he couldn't help but cast his eyes on Mo Xiangnuen. He thought that if Mo Xiangnuen asked him to stay, he would be willing to stay as long as he was asked. But in front of Ye, he shook his head and shook off the unrealistic thoughts just now. I'm leaving today, he told the truth to Ye Wei, not noticing that Mo Xiangnuen's hand was tightly clasped next to him. Why are you in such a hurry? Play for 2 more days and your godmother will prepare delicious food for you. No, I just came here to take a break from my busy schedule. I just wanted to say hello to Uncle Ye, Aunt Chiao and Mo Xiangnuen. Oh, our Chi'er is so good. Should. Han Qi has always liked the Ye family, especially Ye Wei's mother, because he can feel the warmth of home here, unlike their Han family. Han Xingyi was very kind to him. As long as it didn't violate moral principles, he almost met all his material requirements. But there was one emotion that made up for it, and that was the mother's love he had lacked since childhood. Although Han Xingyi, who lost his mother, fulfilled his responsibilities as a father and loved him very much, he knew that his father's heart was empty. Father's heart must have died with the death of mother. When he was a child, he liked Yejia very much, because Ye Wei was very kind to him and made him feel like he was accompanied by his mother, so he was very greedy for that warmth. Okay, don't just stand around, sit down and come and take a look at the things I bought. I didn't know you would come, but there is something suitable for you here. Ye Wei took out one gift originally intended for Ye Qingfeng, and took out another gift from Mo Xiangnuen. Combined, they made 2 gifts and gave them to Han Qi. Godmother, thank you, but if I take these gifts, I'm really afraid that Mo Xiangnuen will be mean to me. Oh, it's okay, I bought a lot. The two of them pushed it back and forth and talked about other topics. By the way, how is your dad lately? I see that he has gone fishing in a country pond, and I'm afraid he doesn't plan to retire there. He won't live there for his old age, he's just avoiding those people on purpose. Sometimes being too famous can be annoying. Han Xingyi was so famous that many people wanted to discuss various things with him, or the constant invitations made him annoyed and he went directly to the countryside to go fishing. The only truth in the night gave him a thumbs up and gave him a like of 666. Your father is still your father. He is so willful that he runs away as soon as he wants. Han Chi shrugged, it doesn't matter, my dad has become more and more free of desires in recent years. Han Chi is telling the truth. When Xia Ziun first left, Han Xingyi didn't believe it and kept looking for him, relying on his own connections. In addition to taking care of his son, he spent all the remaining time on music. He made himself famous and became a famous musician all over the world. He wanted his girl to find a home. But after so many years and no news, he gradually understood the cruelty of reality. Ye Weiwei advised him, I see you've been busy, don't work too hard. Han Chi has his own beliefs in his heart. Whatever my dad wants to do, I will stick to it for him. Han Xingyi's obsession with Xia Ziun deeply affected Han Chi, as if Xia Ziun has always lived in their hearts. Mo Xiongnuan on the side listened and thought of the path he and Han Chi had chosen, getting further and further away. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1707. Chapter 1707 Pictures captured by surveillance video. The matter of Nangongyu being drugged cannot just go unnoticed. When she regained consciousness, she began to investigate what happened that day. Actually, she has an answer in her mind, but she has no evidence. Just when she was worrying about this matter, Huo Yangzi sent her an email, which was a video of that night. The constantly changing pictures clearly showed her the people and things she had come into contact with that day. Zhong Siyu was particularly prominent. It seems that there is no need to investigate the matter of people taking stolen goods together. Nangongyu thanked Huo Yangzi, but she didn't understand what Huo Yangzi's actions meant. The evidence that comes to your door is always a bit strange. Mr. Huo, how do you plan to handle this matter? Ask me what to do about your business. But that's your sister. When did I admit that I have a sister? You call me Mr. Huo, but don't you know her name is Zhong Siyu? Meaning that they even have different surnames, and Huo Yangzi never regarded Zhong Siyu as her sister. Nangongyu didn't know how to judge this matter. Zhong Siyu seems to like Huo Yangzi and regards her as a love rival. And Huo Yangzi doesn't like Zhong Siyu, but is interested in her? These two people with incompatible magnetic fields turned out to be a family in name. She originally thought that even if Zhong Siyu was found out, she might be impressed by the cooperation between Nangong Group and Huo Enterprises, but judging from Huo Yangzi's attitude, she didn't seem to care. Can I assume that Huo Yangzi acquiesces that I can handle it as I please and that it will not affect the cooperative relationship? Whatever. Okay, I understand, thank you very much this time. Nangongyu focused on the key points to explain, and hurriedly ended the conversation when he got the answer he wanted. Looking at the call records on the screen that were no more than 1 minute long, Huo Yangzi squinted his eyes. Last night, the charming look of that woman was still before my eyes. You really have turned your back on me and don't recognize anyone. They are obviously so close, but now it is as if nothing happened. Could it be that they have forgotten? Except for the last step, everything you should do and shouldn't be done is complete. If it were the previous Huo Yangzi, he would definitely bully her over this matter. But just now, why did she hang up the phone so simply? Tisk, I'm a little tired of being out of control. City. Nangongyu, who got the surveillance video, kept the original video and planned to give Zhong Siyu a big gift. Zhong Siyu is also stupid and dares to blatantly plot against her. But thinking about it, she might be even stupider, since she almost fell into the trap because she accidentally fell into the trap. If she had not been taken away by Huo Yangzi, maybe she would have done something outrageous at the banquet and become the laughing stock of the whole city. If it wasn't Huo Yangzi who took her away, maybe she would have. I still feel frightened when I think about what happened last night. She should thank Huo Yangzi, but she didn't want to mention what happened at that time again. It is unimaginable that she would actually sacrifice herself in front of Huo Yangzi. Nangongyu believed that he did such a thing because he was completely confused by drugs. In order not to embarrass two people, the best thing to do is to keep silent in a tacit agreement. Huo Yangzi should think so too. Shaking his head, trying to put away all the troubles, Nangongyu made a copy of the video on a USB flash drive and made an appointment with Zhong Siyu to meet. Zhong Siyu used evil tricks to harm her, but she was not actually harmed. If investigated, Zhong Siyu would not be punished as he should be. As a businessman, you should strive for your own interests to the greatest extent. End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1708. Chapter 1708 video to share with everyone. Zhong Siyu deliberately avoided her and refused to meet her at first. Ms. Zhong, although people outside say that I am gentle to others, it does not mean that I am easy to bully. You will definitely not forget what happened that night. I do not know what you're talking about. Whether you want to admit it or not, at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, I will wait for you at Zilli Cafe, no matter when you are late. Of course, as long as it exceeds 1 minute, the surveillance video of that night will be transmitted to the mobile phones of Mr. Huo or other people in the Huo family. Zhong Siyu's voice suddenly became sharp. What surveillance video? Do. Look at the phone again, call history and suspension. Zhong Siyu started to panic. She glanced at the time in the upper right corner of her phone, grabbed her handbag and walked out the door. Zhong Siyu continued to call Nangongyu after getting in the car, but found that the other party refused to answer the call twice and blocked her directly. This Nangongyu. She is not in S City at all now. If she wants to reach the Zilli Cafe she mentioned before 2 o'clock, she must rush there non-stop. Since Nangongyu appeared in front of her when she was a child, she has never encountered a good thing. Nangongyu is simply her nemesis. She and her mother Zhonyun were kicked out of Nangong's family when she was 3 years old. Now she has finally lived a comfortable life, but Nangongyu shows up to compete with her for the man she likes. Zhong Siyu blamed Nangongyu for all her mistakes, thinking that all the bad luck she encountered was related to her, and the hatred in her heart escalated again. At 1:58 p.m., Zhong Siyu finally arrived at Zilli Cafe. She ran in without a trace, looking around for Nangongyu, but found no one. Have you seen this woman? Zhong Siyu casually took the waiter and showed them the photo of Nangongyu that he found on his mobile phone, but everyone said that they had not seen this person coming. Zhong Siyu wondered if she had found the wrong place or heard the wrong time. She was so anxious that she was sweating profusely, and finally remembered to borrow a passerby's mobile phone to call Nangongyu. Nangongyu took the call. Zhong Siyu asked in a bad tone, "Nangongyu, what on earth are you doing?" Nangongyu heard her voice, and a chuckle came from the phone. "Don't worry, Miss Zhong, just wait in that place. Don't move around casually, otherwise the video will be shared with everyone." Zhong Siyu knew for the first time that such a gentle voice and tone could also deliver harsh words. And every word touches people's hearts. Nangongyu refused to say more and hung up the call again. Zhong Siyu, who was threatened, could only wait here obediently. Others are drinking coffee quietly and enjoying the wonderful afternoon, but Zhong Siyu is restless and upset about everything he does. How can it be possible to calm down? It is precisely because she has done something wrong that she is afraid of being caught and is threatened. Zhong Siyu was restless in the coffee shop and did not dare to leave at will. After much thought, She called her mother Jeon-yoon to ask for help. "Mommy, can you come to S City and help me? What's wrong with you or me? Something troubling happened between me and Nangongyu. Mommy, please come to S City quickly. I'm afraid she will take the opportunity to harm me." Jeon Si-yu said something very scary, and Jeon-yoon, who loved her daughter, immediately agreed. Especially hearing the name Nangongyu, Jeon-yoon thought of what happened many years ago. It's been so long, she should go back to City S to see those old acquaintances. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Luke Ixie. Chapter 1709. Chapter 1709. Nangongyu beats Jeon Si-yu. Jeon Si-yu kept waiting until Nangongyu arrived late at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I saw her walking elegantly into the coffee shop and chatting fluently with the receptionist, as if she was actually here to enjoy coffee in such a leisurely manner. Jeon Si-yu clasped his hands tightly. As soon as Nangongyu arrived, her face changed. "Where's the video you're talking about?" "Ms. Jeon, please be patient." Nangongyu sat down and slowly ordered a cup of coffee. After the waiter left with the drink order, she slowly took out a silver USB flash drive from her bag. Nangongyu pushed the USB disk in front of Jeon Si-yu. "This is the video you want." Jeon Si-yu quickly reached out and grabbed it. Nangongyu smiled and said, "Miss Jeon, don't be so anxious. Since I am willing to give it to you, it proves that I don't need it. Want a backup? She has plenty. Besides, Miss Jeon, why don't you think about it? This surveillance video was taken from your Huo family." "What do you mean?" I didn't know that Miss Jeon was so naive. Did she think that anyone could get the entire video of Mr. Huo's birthday? Naturally, someone tacitly agreed, or he personally gave the video to me. After Nangongyu's instruction, Jeon Si-yu's face turned pale. How could she forget that that is Mr. Huo's territory? It was impossible for Nangongyu to get the video easily, but she got it in such a short period of time. The only explanation is, Miss Jeon must have guessed it now, right? "Don't talk nonsense, I don't know what you are talking about at all," he kept saying it even when he was about to die. Nangongyu seemed to shake his head helplessly. "I have already guessed it and still refuse to admit it, so I will tell you generously that it was indeed Mr. Huo who helped me with this big favor." After saying that, Nangongyu stared at Jeon Si-yu's face quietly. Sure enough, she showed a complicated expression. He obviously guessed it, but he still wanted to find an excuse to deny it. "What nonsense are you talking about? How could Brother Yangzi help you, a bitch?" The curse words almost blurted out. Due to the need to maintain face in public, Jeon Si-yu tried to restrain himself. "How could Brother Yangzi help you, an outsider? Don't even think about taking this opportunity. Destroy my relationship with Brother Yangzi. I really don't understand why Miss Jeon always loves to lie. What on earth do you want?" Our eyes met, and no one gave way. Until 2 cups of coffee were served, one was placed in front of Nangongyu and the other in front of Jeon Si-yu. "I didn't order coffee." Jeon Si-yu frowned displeased. Nangongyu admitted lightly, "I ordered it for Miss Jeon." She held the small sugar bag and smiled at Jeon Si-yu. "Ms. Jeon, do you need to add some sugar?" She looked so calm like this, as if she was really out to enjoy coffee. But it's obviously not the case. "Nangongyu, I'm not afraid to admit it even now. I did that thing. Just tell me what your purpose is and don't hide it." "Well, Miss Jeon, let's have a cup of coffee first." Nangongyu, Jeon Si-yu was about to explode. She was already impatient, and after waiting for 2 hours and still holding on, her patience had long been worn away. Nangongyu happened to be the most patient person when I met him. When two people stay together, the one who is impatient is destined to lose. Zhong Siyu drank the coffee directly without caring about the taste. Nangongyu then got to the point, well, Miss Zhong should know that I am a businessman. If I want to discuss things with a businessman, I have to show valuable sincerity. I don't know how much Miss Zhong is willing to pay to buy this property. Where's the video? End of this chapter. My green plums are super sweet. Author, Lu Kixi. Chapter 1710. Chapter 1710 I only love money. Ms. Zhong, do you want to add sugar? What, you want me to take money to buy a video? No, I don't care, I prefer real money to liquid funds. Are you kidding me? A video can make you open your mouth? At worst, you send the video to them. Brother Yangzi already knows it anyway, so what am I afraid of? Humph, Zhong Siyu felt that it was impossible for him to compromise, so he simply retreated for advancement. Nangongyu was neither arrogant nor impatient, and took out his voice recorder again. If the video isn't enough, what about the voice recorder? Zhong Siyu's expression changed instantly. She never thought that Nangongyu, who looked gentle on the surface, could be so sinister. Nangongyu, you are so shameless, you actually plotted against me. It's not about calculation, I'm just for tat, but I happen to be a businessman, and I care more about how much benefit I can get from it. She took everything for granted. Nangongyu has been in the business world for so many years. Even though he has a good temper, he still has calculations ingrained in his bones. She just needs to use her brain a little to figure out what to do to get the most benefit. Zhong Siyu took a deep breath and exhaled heavily. Tell me, what do you want? Shares. What's the meaning? The Huo family's shares. This time Nangongyu no longer played tricks on her, but directly stated his intentions. Zhong Siyu couldn't help but sneer after hearing this. Nangongyu, you have such a strong tone. Even the Huo family dares to scheme against you. I tell you, it's impossible. Nangongyu showed a professional fake smile. Nothing is impossible in the world. Then you really made a wrong calculation this time. I'm not from the Huo family and I don't have any shares at all. Zhong Siyu couldn't figure out Nangongyu's delicate thoughts and frowned. Nangongyu said, I know you don't have it. And you? But your mother must have. Zhong Siyu's expression changed again and again. She never expected that Nangongyu would directly blame her mother. I tell you, it's impossible. I said, nothing is impossible in this world, especially if it involves money. At this moment, Zhong Siyu answered the call from Zhong Yun. Mommy. Hearing Zhong Yun's voice, Zhong Siyu seemed to have found his backbone all of a sudden. She urged Zhong Yun to come quickly, and she did not forget to cast a proud look at Nangongyu during the conversation. Nangongyu, don't you think, my mommy came to S City in person, do you want the shares? If you have the ability, go find her in person. Waiting for Zhong Siyu's ruthless words to finish, Nangongyu replied in one word without haste, okay. Zhong Siyu. The two of them started to fall silent, waiting for Zhong Yun to arrive. Zhong Yun lived up to Zhong Siyu's expectations and appeared in their small private room at Zili Cafe 10 minutes later. When Zhong Yun pushed the door in and saw Nangongyu for the first time, she couldn't help but be stunned. She had seen Nangongyu's appearance many times on TV or in magazines, but this was the first time she saw the grown-up Nangongyu up close. Her eyes are very similar to those of her mother, Gongqin Li, and somewhat similar to her father who once had a baby face. She looks younger and more beautiful than her peers. Undoubtedly, most people were stunned when they first saw Nangongyu. That kind of quiet and special temperament like an orchid cannot be ignored. When Nangongyu and Zhong Yun's eyes met, the two were incompatible with each other. There was a certain Zhong Siyu who shouted, Mommy, you are finally here. End of this chapter.